The Food We Eat, Team Number 23. Washington University's dining services is a bustling machine that serves the majority of the Danforth campus. It is comprised of 16 different locations and records serving nearly 20,000 transactions per day. In order to meet this daily demand, the university currently sources food, both local and global, which has a huge environmental and economic impact. What if this didn't have to be the case? What if it were possible for Washington University to not only provide locally sourced food for the campus, but for the city and other local institutions? What if WashU could reduce its carbon footprint, all while also stimulating the local economy? And what if these were also possible scenarios that could also address the issue of vacant and abandoned buildings throughout the city? What if? St. Louis residents place a large emphasis on utilizing local food and produce in restaurants and universities. However, in reality, where does the majority of the food and produce actually come from? Currently, Washington University is striving to use 20% sustainable food source on campus, but the reality is that it does far less than that. Washington University is an entity comprised of a strong pool of educated minds and forward thinkers. We have an obligation to do and strive for better as the future generation of leaders and innovators. We believe that we can and should strive for the most sustainable solutions possible. The average tomato travels over 1,500 miles from the farm to your local grocery store. This immense distance of every produce item increases price and diminishes the overall quality and freshness of the product. So what is the problem? Many local farmers have identified a major challenge of supplying massive amounts of fresh produce to WashU during the academic year, which is usually during the low growing season. Under the current conditions, there is a separation of where the supply is and where the demand is needed. This leads to food being transported long food miles. This issue with this insufficient production, increased pollution, high CO2 emissions, and a lack of guarantee of the quality of the product. The good news is, these areas of pitfalls are what we see as our proposal's greatest opportunities. Our goal is to create production hubs that foster better sustainable practices, community interaction, quality local product, reduce CO2 emissions, and an overall smaller footprint. So how can we do better? Our strategic plan for the Woostel dining service is the completion of a local aquaponic facility in St. Louis, supplying the university with a constant source of fresh organic vegetables with minimal effort and expenses for the university. Aquaponics is a sustainable food production that combines water and fish to grow fresh produce. It utilizes the fish's waste to provide nutrients and fertilize the plants. These fish and the produce that is grown will be maintained and locally harvested, fulfilling the university's dining halls and cafeteria's needs for local fresh produce. Our proposal takes advantage of an existing vacant historic structure, 5000 Daggett Avenue, located less than 4 miles away from the campus. This 14-acre vacant structure could serve as the first facility for aquaponic farming. Because it is an existing structure, WashU could utilize historic federal and local tax credits, potentially covering 40% of the overall rehabilitation costs of the project. If more room was needed, this same model could apply to other vacant historic buildings throughout the St. Louis region, or new greenhouse facilities could be built, taking advantage of the 20,000 vacant lots in St. Louis. The redevelopment of this site aims to decrease the overall travel distance of produce by bringing local food production to the heart of the city. Our proposal takes into account the entire food manufacturing processing cycle for the success of high-rate production of aquaponic vegetables. The manufacturing, processing, and distribution all takes place on the first floor, while the entire second floor utilizes the immense amount of natural light that enters the space to fuel the natural plant growth. Other programs such as Recreational Culinary School would bring chefs from the local restaurants and other restaurants to St. Louis to teach to the public and students utilizing the freshly grown vegetables and key ingredients, integrating the local community, university, and the new aquaponic facility. The solar panels and rainwater catchment system would strive to create this site as net zero as possible, fitting with the university's sustainability strategic plan. The reality is that we can do better. Aquaponics can yield up to 100 times the yield rate of traditional agriculture. By renovating and utilizing vacant lots and buildings, we are able to not only meet the proposal's 1 acre requirement, but exceed it and provide 7 acres worth of produce. We see the excess as an opportunity to expand the university's reach into the community. With the addition of local fresh grocery store and the possible inclusion of institutions, we should and can strive for better.